recording the testimony. All right, we're recording. Go ahead with
This
your
meeting
story,
is being recorded.
Yeah, go ahead,
You
Josh.
guys hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I got stopped. Hang on, guys. Pause. I got to take an aspirin real quick. Give me a second, please.
Okay.
I got a headache from hell. I just literally got out. So hang on.
So my son's about to tell us, and now I'm recording it just to document it. He's a hotshot firefighter out in Northern California.
And that's a second son of yours, Mike? Not the one that
My
we've
first
seen
and
in the
only
video?
son. And he, being aware of his right to travel without a driver's license, he hasn't had a license for some time, but after becoming aware of the fact that he does not have to have a license to travel, he hasn't been concerned about getting his license. So he's been driving without his license, and he endeavored to inform that to the police officers. And I'm going to let him tell the story here.
Okay, guys. So yesterday in California, I got a vehicle with a tag that's outdated for 3 months, but I can guarantee you it's an absolute fact that when you're in your own private automobile, you don't need to carry a license. You carry a passport is the most, it's the recommended identification to carry, but any kind of ID can work to present to a police officer. It doesn't have to be a driver's license. You have to have a driver's license when you're operating a commercial vehicle or you're operating a taxi or an Uber. For your own private automobile, you do not need to have one. You can verify this yourself on a Supreme Court decision that was made concerning the same matter called Hale versus Henkel. It can go into more elaborate detail, but my situation was knowing that I have the right to travel. I wasn't worried about an expired tag at the moment because I know that I'm well within my rights to travel. So I ended up getting pulled over by CHP yesterday, which is California Highway Patrol, and he pulled me over. I rolled down my window. He came over to the passenger side, asked how I was doing. I said, good. Asked him how he was doing. Good. He said, the reason I'm pulling you over is because you have an outdated tag. He says, do you have a license on you? And I said, no, I don't have it on me. He says, what's your name? Can you write your name down for me? At that point, I should have immediately not even engaged with them. I should have just cut communication right then and there. But I made the mistake because I'm just inherently a nice guy. I says, well, yeah, my name's Josh Michael Van Scoik. I'm from Miami. And I wrote that down on a piece of paper for him. And he says, okay, I'll be right back. So at that time, when he's running my information, he comes back a few minutes later. He says, there's no Joshua Michael Van Scoik in Miami. I said, well, go and run it again. So he goes and runs it again, and another highway patrolman pulls up. So, of course, these guys, how they work buddy-buddy system. They come over and, they start talking to me, and they're like, what's going on? You're driving, you don't have your title and registration or your license or any of that stuff. What are you doing on the road? So at that point, I proceeded to say, well, guys, I'm trying to be nice and decent with you here. I thought maybe you were in dire need of my help, and that's why you were stopping me. Maybe I could be of some service to you. I didn't know why you were stopping me, but I don't really even have to talk to you guys. I said, but I was being courteous. But all in all, I don't even need a license to travel. I said, I have a passport that I don't have on me, but that's my means of identification. I just don't have it on me at the time. So the cop started laughing, and about the time I started saying this, I got my phone in between my lap and I started recording because I wanted it to be recorded what was said between him and I. And he blurted out and he says, Jesus Christ, what is it with people today on Saturday? People in their rights, thinking they have all these rights. And I looked at him, I said, did I just hear you say what I think you just said? He says, no, I didn't mean it like that. You just said, what is it with people in their rights? I said, I just heard you say it. And he's like, well, that's not what I meant. I said, I just heard you say it. So he walks back to his patrol car, and I can hear him and the other deputy saying, let's call the sheriff and get the sheriff out here. And then I screamed out the window and said, yeah, let's do it. Let's get the sheriff out here. So we're waiting on the sheriff. I'm just sitting in my car. The sheriff pulls up. There's 4 patrol cars now. So the officer that first pulled me over walks back over to me a couple minutes later with a citation in his hand, and he says, okay, I need you to get out of the vehicle and sign this citation for me. I said, okay, I'll sign the citation for you. Let me have it. I said, but I'm not getting out of my vehicle. He says, no, I need you to turn your key off, get out of the vehicle, and sign the citation. So I said, if you want me to sign the citation, you hand the citation to me, and I'll sign it sitting right here in my vehicle. I said, but now you're violating the United States Code, Title 18, which you operate under. And I said, you're violating my right to travel. as a private man in my vehicle. I said, and I did not commit any crime. There was no law broken. There was no crime committed. I said, so I'm not turning my vehicle off, and I'm not getting out of it for you. So I'll sign a citation if you want to hand it to me. So then he gets on his microphone and he says, I need you to come over here. We got a problem. So at that point, I said, well, you going to force me out of my vehicle? He says, yes, sir. We're going to be impounding your vehicle. So I said, well, you're going to have to remove me yourself. He said, I'm not getting out of this vehicle. So it's just that. So a couple minutes later, they all come over and open the door, take my seatbelt off, and then they physically remove me out of the vehicle. And he says, you want to sign the citation now? I says, I'm not signing a citation. So I'm going to take you to jail if you don't sign the citation. So we're going to impound your vehicle, and I'm going to take you to jail. I said, okay. I said, you understand how due process works, don't you? I said, I did not commit a crime. I said, if you're going to detain me, you need to take me to a magistrate immediately. I said, if I committed a crime, I got 72 hours before I have to see a magistrate, but I didn't commit a crime. And now you're going to detain me. So due process tells me that you got to take me to a magistrate immediately. He says, oh, you're going to see a magistrate. So he puts me in a highway patrol car. The other cop, starts opening my doors and looking around, and I yell out saying, oh, now you're doing an unlawful search on my vehicle. Great. So they shut the door. Highway patrolman takes off. They take me to the county jail, where I am met with 6 correctional officers outside, and they take me out of the highway patrol car, and the 6 correctional officers say, welcome to the jail. You going to cooperate? And I look at them, and I said, no, I'm not. So I walk inside. They put me in they put me in the jailhouse cuffs, and they proceed to do a vital check on me. They said, we're going to do a vital check on you. Do we have your consent to do a vital check? I said, no, you don't. I said, I'm not drinking. I'm not under the influence of drugs. I don't need your vital check. I said, well, you're going to get it anyways. Come here. You're doing a vital check. So they did a pulse oximeter on my finger. They made me do a breathalyzer that I didn't want to do. They checked my vitals with my, what's that thing they put around your arm, Dad? Your heart rate. They checked my heart rate. So then a couple minutes later, I'm put in a jail cell, and I'm sitting in a jail cell for about 3 to 4 hours before contact is made with me again. And a sheriff walks in with a piece of paper, and he says, hey, Josh, all you got to do is sign this citation, and you can go home today. I said, are you bribing me? I said, are you telling me that if I sign a piece of paper, you want me to sign that citation, and then I get to go home? I said, it sounds like a lot like bribery to me. He says, well, it's not bribery because there's no money involved. So I said, well, let me read that document. I said, let me see that document in your hand. Let me have it. Let me read it. Let me study it. And then I'll determine whether or not I'm going to give you my autograph. I says, but right now I'm not going to sign anything. So he says, well, I don't need to give it to you. I can tell you what's on it. I said, well, if you're not going to let me study it, then the answer is no. I'm not signing your paperwork. So he gets a little pissed off, slams the door, and goes outside. They leave me in there for about another 2 to 3 hours, and a nurse comes. The same sheriff comes back with a nurse, and the nurse looks at me and says, hey, I got to run your vitals. I said, well, you don't have my permission. And the nurse says, well, I really need to run your vitals because it's part of the process. I got to run your vitals every hour to make sure you're okay, because when you first came in, your blood pressure was a little high. I said, of course my blood pressure was a little high. I said, I'm in a jail cell right now that I don't belong in. So they shut the door, and I can hear the two communicating out there, and the nurse says, hey, we got to get this guy's vitals, because we don't get his vitals, we can lose him. So we got to do whatever we got to do to get his vitals. So they open the door, and they said, come on, Josh, it's part of the process. Just let us do this. I said, I don't want my vitals taken. I feel fine. I can tell you right now there's nothing wrong with me, so I'm not doing it. He says, well, I can get sued. I says, well, too bad. I says, I'm not taking my vitals. There's no reason to. And I turned around. I said, please get out of my cell. So they shut the door again. Another minute later, the sheriff comes back with 4 officers, and they say, get up. And they said, come outside here, face the wall. So they made me face the wall. They put my hands behind my back, like they were cuffing me. And they tell the nurse, go ahead and put the vitals and put the proximeter on his finger. So I made a real tight fist with my finger. I didn't let him get that pulse proximeter on me. But they wanted to wrap my arm with that high pressure gauge and everything. And I started to flinch, and they just forcefully, like the sheriff said, I'll break your freaking arm, and get up against that wall. And then they forced, me having a damn vital check that I didn't consent to. So they got their vital checks, and then they threw me back in the cell, and I was there till about 3 or 4 in the morning. And they moved me into a different cell. And of course, they're trying to tell me, hey, all you got to do is sign this, give us your signature and you can go home. It's a signature that you're going to appear in court. You're agreeing to appear in court. So I said, well, guys, I ain't stupid. I said, I know how this works. You can only hold me for 48 hours. You can't hold me any longer than that. I said, so if I got to sit here for 2 days to see a magistrate, I'm going to sit here. I said, I'll sit here until that magistrate's ready to see me, and then the magistrate and I can hash it out. I said, so I'm prepared and ready to sit. So they said, okay, fine. An hour later, I hear a guy come in the jailhouse that sounds like an attorney. And I can hear some kind of conversation going on between them where the attorney's like, well, yeah, you can only hold him for this much time. And if you can get a signature and la-di-da-di-da. I knew the discussion was about me, but I didn't get the full details. All I can tell you is it had to do with timing and getting my signature. So at this point, they were able to tell this guy just isn't going to comply. I'm not giving them my signature. So I ended up I got into the jail cell at 3 o'clock yesterday, spent all night in a 4-block cell. They didn't even offer me a phone call. Due process was completely avoided in all forms. I'm supposed to get a phone call. I'm supposed to get food. I'm supposed to get water. I didn't get any of that. They didn't even offer me a phone call. So another thing I want to get them on a lawsuit is, now my family is mentally anguished because they're used to hearing from me at nighttime. Now I'm not calling them. Trisha's wondering where I'm at because, I'm at Trisha's house telling her, Trish, I'm going to town to get a patch on the tire because I got a slow leak in the tire and I'll be back. So Trish has no idea where I'm at. My dad has no idea where I'm at. Trish just starts going and looking for me, calling, the hospital, making sure I didn't run off the road. She finally found out that I was in jail. She said the sheriff was very cold, saying, yeah, we got him locked up here for resisting arrest. And she said he was very cold about it, just kind of hung up. But she was kind of relieved knowing, okay, Josh ain't dead, he's in jail. So I sat in the jail cell all night, most of the day today at about 3 o'clock. They come in and another officer comes in and says, you want to sign the paperwork or are you really going to sit here until Tuesday? I said, look, man, I already told you about the paperwork. I said, let me review what's on there. Let me read it, and I'll come to the determination on whether I want to give you my autograph or not. So, and I said, and if I do sign it, I want a copy. I said, I want my own copy. So he says, okay. He says, well, let me get you booked and everything, and we'll get you your own copy, and you can study the paperwork. So he says, come around here and talk to the girl that does the booking. She'll answer all your questions if you agree to sign it. I says, okay, fine. So I left the jail cell and I spoke with a girl that was booking, and she starts asking me questions like, how old are you? What's your name? I said, before you ask me any questions, let me ask you a couple. I said, what am I being charged with? Why am I even here? Why have I been sitting in a jail cell for 24 hours? Denied due process. You haven't even answered me. You haven't even offered me a phone call. I've been sitting in a cold jail cell all night long. What did I do? What's the charge? And she says, well, the Florida Highway Patrol people that dropped you off here didn't leave any paperwork. They didn't leave anything with us, no citation. They just said that you resisted arrest.
You mean the
So
California? You mean the California Highway Patrol?
California Highway Patrol, yeah. She said, they said that you were resisting arrest. I said, are you kidding me? I said, am I here right now because of hearsay? Am I here on hearsay? I said, where's their citation that I didn't sign? I said, don't you have a citation that they issued to me that I refused to sign that you're supposed to have? She says, no, I don't have it. So yeah, you're basically just here on their word. I said, well, great. I said, so if there's no citation, there's no case here, and this whole thing is null and void, right? She says, pretty much. She says, you got to go to CHP and see if you can get a copy of the citation, and they'll tell you where your vehicle is impounded. So I reviewed the paperwork, and I seen what it was, and it was just a promise to appear in court on December 4th. So at that point, I was able to put 2 and 2 together and figured, well, if I can get the hell out of this stinking jail cell right now and go and get this citation, I probably got a pretty good case here. So I said, I'm just going to go ahead, instead of sitting here till Tuesday to see a magistrate, I'm going to sign this document that says I'm going to appear to court on December 4th. I'm going to grab my stuff, and I'm going to get the hell out of here. So that's what I did a couple hours ago. Now I'm sitting back up at Trisha's house. Yep. It was just a total, they didn't even have, they dropped me off there, and she said the troopers are leaving here because they said you did this and that. And there was no charge, and they held me there overnight. Totally unacceptable.
Of course.
That's how they treat people. I told one guy, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. you know, for even wearing a badge. The way this is how you treat American people. It's disgusting the way these people behave. It's disgusting.
Well,
I couldn't
son,
even believe that I was locked in a jail cell last night for 24 hours.
mm,
You can't sleep in a cold cell because it's too cold. You're barefoot. There's a bright light on. You just stuck there, going out of your mind, borderline going crazy. For what? I didn't commit a crime. There was no crime committed whatsoever. So I can tell everybody on this call, I'm going after these people legally because of what they've done to me. And everybody should take this position and have this attitude. And
well,
know,
Josh,
you know,
Wait, what? You
no,
have
no,
to
hold,
sign.
please, no, hold on, please, hold on. Hold your thoughts for a minute. I mean, it's frustrating for me. This is my son, right? And I'm getting a call from him now that, I mean, for me to know my son left Florida to go to California to fight fires as a hotshot firefighter, and he's having to go through this, and his rights have been violated. Isn't it ironic that today, Brian sent me a video from Rick Martin, just today. Brian Traub, Josh, just today sent me a video where Rick Martin was talking about how he got arrested for driving without a driver's license and spent a night in jail, and he got $250,000 for it when he filed a claim against them because they violated his rights. And he said he bought a Porsche 911 with it. That's what he said in the video. So hopefully everything you went through is gonna equate to the same recompense for you, son.
Get your phone back.
Hold on, Ted. Yeah, and my son said he's got the officer on video recording saying, man, what is it with you people and your rights?
Did he get that back, the phone that back though? And it's on there?
Let me ask him yet. Josh? Yeah, he put me on hold for a second. Let him finish what he's doing. I believe he said he has it. He said he has a, Josh?
You guys there?
Yeah, Josh, do you have a video recording right now of an officer saying, what's up with you people and your rights?
Yes, I do have him saying that on my video recorder.
Awesome. Send me that video,
I'm
will you?
going to tell you guys, it's us against them, guys. Those people wearing those uniforms have really declared war against we, the people of the United States of America. They are our enemy. I learned that today. I had somewhat of a respect for law enforcement, where I would be the kind of guy that says, you know, yeah, I support the men in blue until yesterday. I can honestly tell everybody listening in on this call, I have absolutely no respect, zero respect whatsoever for our these people wearing these uniforms. Now, sure, yes, there are good men and women that are law enforcement officers, but the fact of the matter is a jail is a private for-profit corporation entity. Okay, I asked that before I left the jailhouse. I said, who owns this jail? I want to know who owns it. She says, well, the county owns it. Of course, no. The county doesn't own it. Somebody owns this jail. I said, because this is a corporate charter owned by somebody, and all it is a racket. You should see all the people that I heard. I heard all the people coming in today, okay, having these bonds set on them, you know, because these court systems dip into these people's trust accounts. That's all it is. It's a big racket, and they're putting people in jail for something stupid. I'm going to tell you guys, we're at war with these people. Unfortunately, they've waged war against us because the people that they're employed by. My number one recommendation to any good law enforcement man or woman that I know today is resign, leave your job, and go do something else, because when it gets real bad, and these people that are responsible, they're going to have to be held accountable for what they did to you and me and everybody else. They're going to have to be held accountable. You don't want to be protecting them when that time comes, because you're going to be just as responsible.
Yeah, they're going to have to choose. They're going to have to choose a side. Yeah, it's sad and unfortunate. As you know, Josh, I'm always saying there's no such thing as a bad cop, only bad people wearing a uniform that don't deserve to be, because there shouldn't be any such thing as a bad police officer. They're supposed to be respectable, honorable people. What was the last thing you told me before I started recording, Josh? You mentioned how on the way out you asked them for their insurance bond or their, what was it you said?
Well, on my way out of the jail cell, I said, I want your risk management number, because David Straight talks about, well, he says that's a private charter. He says agencies are a corporation. So he says all corporations are licensed, bonded, and insured. So how do you find out with an agency like a police department, you know, who are they insured by? Well, you go to their risk management department and you ask their risk management department people, who is your insurance company? How much are you bonded for? And that's where you go from there and you file a claim. Like David Strait says, don't file a complaint. What the hell is a complaint going to do for you? You know, filing a complaint to a judge or a magistrate. You file a complaint. You find out who's bonded, insured, and who's insuring this corporation, and you go after them.
Right. Don't complain. Don't complain. File a claim. So on the way out, you asked them for their risk management number. You said they
And
kind of.
they gave it to me.
They
Yeah,
gave
they
it to you.
gave it to me.
All right. You said
Right.
they asked you why. They said why. Why do you need that or something?
Yeah, I told them it's none of your business. Just give it to me. If I'm asking you for information, it's public record. Just give it to me. You don't need to ask me why.
Yeah, you did handle it good, son. I'm sorry you had to go through that. I tend to favor the idea that you should have never signed anything because that's them trying to get you to engage in a
Didn't
contract
David
with them.
Strait say that? Josh did enough studying on that. Didn't David Strait say if there's 3 signatures they have to put you in jail? Yours, an attorney, and the magistrate or the judge. If he
Right,
signed that paper, he might have put himself in a trick box, in a jackpot though, because he signed that damn thing.
right. Yeah,
Suck.
right. Yeah, you shouldn't have signed it. They were, because that was all the more reason they were tricking you. They were trying to trap you into your consent. That was essentially you consenting to the whole thing in a way. But again, you
Video.
go
That
ahead,
video-
Charles. I'm going to let Charles speak now. Charles is a legal mind. Go ahead, Charles.
Thank you. I think it's an invalid contract. It's not consent. Yeah, your son has made the record quite clearly that he objects to every military police state tactic they're doing. He's got mountains of argument there that shows that he has not consented to their de facto evil empire jurisdiction. There's no doubt about it in an honest, open court proceeding. The only way that signing the ticket can be used against him is if there's a corrupted judicial officer dominating the court proceedings. That's the only way. And if your son makes well-focused arguments, the chances are strong that your son can talk his way out of that presumption that they like to make.
And what about the coercement? He was essentially coerced into signing it, right?
Yeah,
By threatening him, you're going to stay in here if you don't sign it.
Yeah, see, there's a multitude of
They
reasons.
bribed me by telling me you go home if you sign the paper.
See, if any
That
of
was
you
my
said,
due process. My due process. Guys, I have these guys on so many different counts. There's so many different ways they violated me.
Yeah, Charles agrees with you, and he's a bright legal mind.
That's why
Send that
that's the only
video
I
to your
understand where
dad.
you're coming from, Dad, but you have to
My
understand
son.
there's so much I have against these people that I figure, well, so because I thought about this all day long. I sat in the jail cell and I was thinking, am I gonna lose my rights if I sign this paper? But as I started to think about it, no, I'm not, and that's why I agreed to sign. I agreed to sign it.
If anything, Charles, I mean, it's water under the bridge now, but should he have signed it, signing under duress or being forced to sign? That would have been good if you thought to say being forced to sign under
Does
duress.
Charles know how long they can hold you in a holding block cell for? I mean, how long are they legally allowed to put you in a holding block cell before you go out of your mind?
I know.
Especially if you haven't committed a crime.
See, that's the other thing. It's not a pleasant place to be. So, I mean, a person's going to want to, they're going to be easily bribed into signing when they don't want to because they're in a shithole,
Josh, make sure you send your father that video right now. Don't let that phone die. Don't let anything happen to that phone because that is something you're going to have. You can definitely use in your favor.
Yeah, email it to me, son. I'm going to stop this recording now because I don't want it to be long. This is just an evidence recording.
Okay.
I'm in a testimony now that we've got it documented, and I will add your video to the end of this video. So I'm going to stop this recording now. Thank you, son,
Okay.
for letting us
I'd
know.
like to figure out how Rick Wilson went through his process so that
Yeah, I'm going to put you in touch with Rick Martin as well.